Moly, you swine, look at that view. Holy, I know it's a dull day, but it even looks beautiful today.
I don't always look at it because I'm too busy watching.
Well, that's it, this is your little work then. You've been doing this for 20 years, and I know that you know, it's one of those things, who was it? Mark Twain had said it takes him usually about 3 weeks to write a spontaneous speech. There is that sort of, the natural flow of a good speech is so important with the rhythms and all that. So where did you get all that from? Where did that start with you?
I suppose, well, it started when I was a child. I was an awful chatterbox. And then, funny that, so I hope you're sitting comfortably. So what happened was, my parents said to me, Melanie, would you write a little ditty for so-and-so, they're turning 50, or somebody else is retiring or whatever. And I used to always write birthday cards and Christmas cards, just as a child, and that developed. Then when I was 18, I was working with this girl and she came into me one day and said, oh my God, I have to make a speech at my brother's wedding. Her dad wasn't on the scene. Her mother said, I can't make it. I said, all right, I'll do it for you. And she said, what? I said, look, I'll give it a lash. I've never written a speech. I'll give it a lash. I kind of looked into it. I wrote the speech and she said, I got a standing ovation. I couldn't believe it. And I said, well, that's brilliant, because I actually really enjoyed writing it. I'm a chatterbox, and I know that some people, the idea of, first of all, writing a speech, but actually standing up and making that speech, it's torture. They'd rather eat their own hair. And I've had people saying to me, I would love if my wedding got cancelled because the thoughts of a speech, that's all they think of. They can't sleep, they can't think. So really what happens is I peel it back like an onion and I just say, look, if you need to make a speech, first of all, plan it really well in advance. Because what happens is people get to 2 or 3 weeks before their wedding or the birthday, which normally weddings, and then they panic and they've so many other things to do, like, well, the table plan. Let's not talk about that right now, because that's always, if you can get to the table plan, you should probably marry that person. That's all I'm saying. And there's so much that has to be done, and then they're like, oh my God, my speech, and it just becomes overwhelming, and they've no idea what to say, how to say it, and they sit down to write and they just can't. So I've been doing that for years. I did it all through my 20s, all through my 30s. Then I got to lockdown. I also write eulogies and stuff like that. Got to lockdown, I wrote a couple of eulogies, and a gentleman said to me, oh, he said, I was at a funeral, I think you wrote that eulogy. And I said, I did. And he said, would you not formalise it? And I said, no, I hadn't really thought of it. And he said, no, he said, I think you should, you have a nice skill. So I was a little crimson, I won't lie. And I thought, you know what, I will. So, you know, I was doing nothing but walking the streets and walking our 2 kilometre hard tread depth, and my runners was gone, so I thought I'll do something else.
But that gift, I don't know, that was just, I don't know whether you read a lot, whether there were certain, you know, comedians or other writers that you loved, or whether it was just a family thing. I don't know where that came from.
Funnily enough, my own father, God rest him, on his wedding day, on my wedding day nearly died when he had to make a speech. He said, those of you who know me know I'm not accustomed to public speaking, and then the microphone went down and no one heard anything else. That was pretty much the gist of it. It wasn't his thing. I love reading. I'd read anything I loved reading as a child. I am a natural chatterbox. So I suppose just being able to help people with that moment where they go, I can't do it. I'm like, yeah, actually, you can do it. So if you plan it and you tell me what you want to say, I'll give you the right words. I will literally put the words into your mouth. So when you stand up in the day and you hold that microphone on your wedding day, or your son or your daughter's wedding day, whatever it is, you know that what you're saying is good. So that will then give you the confidence to say, do you know what, I can actually keep going with this. Because I haven't written some Egypt type speech, and no one's going to laugh at me. No one's going to pick up the starter and throw it. Do you know what I mean? Because the speech is okay. So that's kind of half it. Giving yourself the time to do that obviously always helps. So that's kind of where it came from. And I've written speeches for businessmen, I've written speeches for children, I've written speeches for, I was asked to one for a politician, but I didn't get it. So if Simon Harris is listening, I'm good to go. Okay, I'm your girl and I'm local. There we go.
That rule too about the, I don't know where it came from originally, but the idea of you know, a good wedding speech, or any speech, is that, you know, like a lady's dress, it should be long enough to cover the essentials, but short enough to keep it interesting.
Absolutely.
So I don't know if there's certain rules that you kind of, it's case by case basis, or there's certain things you hit.
So what I do, like I'd say, so this would be typical now. Someone will contact me and they normally say help. That's normally the subject of the email, and I go, okay, great, I'm ready. Yeah. And they say the wedding is whatever. I do 80% of my work is weddings.
Right.
So they'll say, okay, help, the wedding is on in whatever 3 weeks, and I'm like, well, you have actually left it very, very late. And I'll send them the questionnaire, I'll get all the information, and I'll just kind of find out a little bit about them, about the speaker, about their personality. So some people say to me, make me really funny, and I have to say, are you really funny though? Yeah. Because I can't make you funny. Do you know what I mean?
It's going to be an ill fit if you suddenly put up.
Absolutely. I can write funny if you want. I can have it being really funny. But if you're somebody who's very dry and you're not normally very funny, it's not going to land. Sure. And the guests will be going, oh my God, look at John. He's making a bit of a pig's Mickey this. So you don't want that. So I would fit it into the person. And I'd also make sure that it blends in to the, say if it's the father of the bride speech, I'd make sure it blends in to his daughter. So I'm like, tell me about your daughter. Like, if your daughter's really shy, I'm not going to write about the time that she drank all your poaching and filled it back up with water, because she's probably not going to love that. Do you know what I mean? And then it's often people would say to me, oh, now listen, Mary's getting married on Saturday week. Now, this is her third engagement, but don't mention it. I'm like, please don't tell me that.
Yeah.
Don't give me any of that information. I don't need to know. Do you know what I mean? So I always make sure that it's complimentary to the person who's delivering the speech and to the people listening to the speech. I mean, I've spoken to wedding planners before. One wedding planner said specifically that the bride, while the father was making the speech, the bride texted the wedding planner from under the table and said, stop him. Because the dad had too much to drink, and that's another thing. I said, just don't wait till you get your speech out of the way. Don't go wild, more Shirley Temple, less Moscow Mule. You know what I mean?
You go.
Until it's out of the way. So just a few things like that, you know. So it works very well. But the other thing as well, just to say, is that I do traditional speeches, which is just how we're chatting now.
Yes.
But I also write in rhyme, so I love writing in rhyme, and this is a real childhood love of mine, and this is kind of how it started. So I write little ditties about people in rhyme. For all of my teenage years I did it. So now what I do, some people say to me, oh, I want something a bit different. So I'm like, okay, come here, give me all your info. And I will write the entire speech in rhyme. Now, it'll be funny, and it'll be witty, and it'll be the crack, and it'll be on point. Nothing is made up. I don't use AI or ChatGPT because it's actually stomach churning, the stuff they give you back. Brilliant for other things, just not for creativity.
Not creativity, I think it's, yes.
It just doesn't really work. So I give people that choice. And my longest rhymed speech was with a French gentleman who was marrying a lady who's a Gaeilgeoir, and they're getting married in London. So he's like, I need the three of this in here. So I actually wrote in some French, some Irish. I got it all to rhyme. I gave him the phonetic spelling. You don't want to see now what the Irish is. But yeah, so it's good fun.
So we should say, after 20 years, and obviously you've had a huge amount of success, but you got a particular award recently, which is a nice kind of like rosette to every now and again be told, we all agree that you are, doing a great job.
Yeah, and that was a little eye-watering. It wasn't lost to me now, actually, as a speechwriter, that I wasn't speeches myself. I was like, me.
It's called the Creative Professional Award, isn't it?
So
Network Ireland.
I remember with Network Ireland, I'm a part of the Wicklow branch, and I entered into these awards myself in the Creative Professional category. Beep beep, they're obviously saying well done. Thank you. And I won it. So the awards were on at Tinakilly House on the 13th of June, and I won it. So it was great. I was delighted because it just means I'm like, okay, I'm doing something right. But also I go forward then to the national event, which is on at the end of September, and I'll compete against all the other creative professionals throughout Ireland.
Great.
So
I'm guessing the real kick though is when you do get feedback from those people who were absolutely terrified often when they have to make any kind of speech in front of, especially family and friends. There's maybe a little bit less when you're strangers, you can kind of just walk away from it. But when you've got to deliver a speech, I'm guessing it's a real kick when people get back to you just to let you know that this was, saved my day. This has made everything
I love
sweet.
when that happens. And you know what? I've written speeches. I wrote. That's really good. I wrote a speech. So I did for a lady who had 5 sons. Her husband left her when the eldest child was 8. So she had 5 boys under the age of 8. And she said, she's going to America. The son's wedding is in America. And she said, I have to do the father of the bride.
Did you work bollocks into the speech somewhere? It sounds like there would be a bollocks involved.
It was in brackets. So I said, in or out,
right.
you decide. That was really nice of me, I thought. I think she left it out. She's a lady.
Yeah.
But anyway, she was like, this for me is a really emotional speech because I brought these boys up on my own. She said, I'm going to the eldest to get married. And I said, okay, grand. But she went off. She was so nervous, and she did it. And I recorded the speech and I sent it to her. And I said, when you're going on the plane, I said, listen to me in your ears on the way over. Become really familiar with the speech. So I wrote a traditional speech. I ended it with a rhymed speech. And she said, literally, Melanie, everyone shot her out of their chairs and she got a standing ovation. It was so good. But not only that, I suppose I would also deal with people who would say, this is my second child to get married. Mm-hmm. And the first one dad said to me, I was nearly sick. There was a plant outside the room. He said, I was nearly sick. He said, I was so nervous. He said, I was terrified. He said, the dinner was ruined. The day was ruined because all I could think about was the speech. He came to me for the second child, who's my age, which is funny, and he said, it was amazing. He said, I loved it because he said, I knew what I was saying was right and it was good. And I'm not a speech coach, and there are those people out there, and that's great for business. But if you need to just get through one event, I'll be able to help you from start to finish. And you'll actually say, do you know what, I enjoyed it.
If you can sort that 5 minutes in the day out, the whole rest of your day is fine then. It can bleed into every single moment if you worry and you don't know if you're right.
And weeks before, especially with weddings, like weeks before the wedding. I spoke to a girl this morning and she was like, we're engaged 2 weeks. She said, we're getting married in a year and a half. And she said, my fiance said to me last night, I don't want to do this because I can't make a speech. Now, he's a year and a half out. He's only just got engaged, but he suddenly went, oh, I forgot. So it really does affect people, you know. But if you plan it and you're ready to go and you have it there, you'll nail it.
And I presume the love of rhymes came from filthy limericks, because that's normally how the Irish people get there.
I'd rather you cut that out.